Hey there, not many people know this, but you can actually practice coding in Google Sheets. But why would you want to do that? 4 reasons why. First, it's fast access. Usually when you want to code something in other languages, you need to open up an IDE. And sometimes I just don't have the patience to open up an IDE. It just takes so much time and they're so clunky and it takes so long to load. And then it takes so long to set up your program. And sometimes I'm on a tablet and I don't feel like going to my laptop to open up my IDE. Second, it's quick coding. Once you open up the tab, you can start doing some calculations. Google Sheets has a bunch of built-in functions that you can already use to start processing your data. For example, the sum function is a common way that people use to do a sum on a set of data. And for me, I like to use the Google Finance functions to get stock prices. Third, it's practical. I'm sure you're probably using Google Sheets already to manage some personal information or data. So why not add some useful data processing to it? For example, if you're using it to manage your budget, why don't you use some useful data processing to manage your debt, your income, and your expenses? Lastly, doing data processing in Google Sheets is very similar to doing data processing in an actual program or application. For example, you're probably already doing some arithmetic operations. And did you know that you can also do some if and else statements, and you can also do some Boolean logic? And there's also functions. Like I mentioned earlier, there are functions you can use, and that's very similar to coding. And the benefit here is that you can see your data visually and see it being processed in real time. When you make an update to your code, you'll see the data change right away. Practicing coding in Google Sheets is just something natural to do as a software developer. And what is the fundamental skill of a software developer? It's making the computer do what you want it to do. So in this video, I'll be going over one simple way to practice coding in Google Sheets, and then I'll be going over a fancy way to practice coding in Google Sheets. So let's get started. Alright, my name's Henrik and I'm here to teach you how to become a better developer, and I want to give you a free gift, and it's called my Personalized Finance App Programming Guide. And it's a guide where you do this fun programming project, and in this project you take your credit card transactions and then you categorize them into different budget categories so you know how much you're spending. And it's a fun guide, and if you download it and pay attention to what it says, you'll definitely learn some fundamental programming concepts. Alright, so here's an empty Google spreadsheet, and a buddy of mine was asking me for help on his spreadsheet. He was doing his budget in his spreadsheet. Alright, so this is what my friend said. He said, I'm trying to figure out what the formula is to automatically deduct a certain number in a cell at the first of every month. For example, deduct 100 from an original debt of 1,000. So I'm going to go over how I would code this in Google Sheets. So in order to do this, we need to have some sort of date information in our spreadsheet. So let's say the original debt date, let's say it's June 1st, 2023. Well, you really just have to use a date function. So you do 2023, and then let's say the debt was started on June 1st. So this is the original debt date. So today, as I'm recording this video, is July 26, 2023. So right now my current debt should actually be 1,000 minus 100. So this is what the current debt should be. So let's make a field where it says how many times a payment was made. So according to what my friend wants, there has only been one payment so far, and that was done on July 1st. So right now it should be 1. And the current debt should be 1,000 minus 100 times this number, how many times a payment was made. And then we can also, instead of using 100 here, we're going to use the original debt number here, and instead of using the 100, which is your monthly payment, it's going to be this one. So 900 is correct. So now we need to find a formulaic way for number 1 to get 1. So I think the hardest part about this question is how to get this number. I think the first thing we need to do is find out how many months has happened since the original debt date. And the way we can do that is we can find the month of the current date. So that will just be the equation month and then the current date, which is today. So this will give you the month. So let's do original debt month, and that's going to be the month of A7. 6. So how many times a payment was made is just going to be the current month minus the debt month. Let's organize our data a little bit. Okay, so I think that makes it more clear. So the current date, the original debt date, and the debt month, and the current month. So let's say the original debt date was May 26. Then the original debt month becomes 5. So how many payments have been made since May 26th? That's June 1st, and then that's July 1st. So there's 2 payments. So far our calculations is correct. And then say, for example, in the future, say it's not 7/26. Say it's actually August 1st, and you made actually another payment. So this number is always going to change every day. Tomorrow it's not going to say 7/26. Tomorrow it's going to say 7/27. And so on and so forth. When it actually becomes August 1 one day, and then this thing will update, and then this will update. So I think this accomplishes what my friend wanted. And then here my friend, he wanted to know what the formula was. So you can actually consolidate all this information into this one cell. So what is this? This is just A4, which is 1,000. That's the original debt. And then the monthly payment is 100. You still get the same number, but we can actually erase this now. And then A13 is 2. But what was the calculation here? It was this 7 minus 5. But what was 7? 7 was the month of A10. So we can actually remove this. We can move this guy, and then we can put it in here, and then you get the same number still. Likewise with this one, we can remove the date here, and then you still get the same numbers, but now you can delete those cells, and then you have this number. You can just remove this, and then you put it in here. Instead of B10, you put the actual thing here, and then the same, you can do this too. So now we're like consolidating all of these cells into one cell. If you just want to make it look really clean, and then you just remove this, and then you bring it up here, then you have to put a parentheses around this so that the 100 is multiplied by this whole section. So this is a cell, which is 2, and it actually tells you what it calculates to. If you highlight it, it just says 2, and then you can see what is the month. That's 7. Okay, that's correct. And what is the month of this one? 5. And you probably don't even need to have this section. You can just say 5, because you know that the original debt date was in May. So you could just do that and make it really simple. It's the same. You get the same number. Okay. And then now you can just erase all of this, and then you have that magic formula. And this is the formula that my friend wanted. Just to reiterate, this thing will update every day. The today is going to update every day. And when it's August, it's going to be 8. And then 8 minus 5 is 3, and then you're subtracting another 100, so you'll have 700. Alright, so this is a simple way of doing it, and this is the magic formula that you come up with. But we can actually do a fancy way, and that's by adding a new function. Alright, so the fancy way to do this, instead of doing it all in here, what I'm going to show you is through the extensions. If you go to App Script, and then here it takes you to this IDE in Google Sheets. It's very similar to a typical IDE, kind of like Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. You can run your code here, you can debug it, and then you can see a log. And it's very similar to JavaScript, but it's Google Script. So if you ever have questions, you can look it up. Just type Google Script and then ask your question there. So let's code my friend's function. Instead of using this, and then we have to look at this every time we want to see the function, we can actually just do it in our app script. So in this function, let's call it debt left, and then we'll have an input argument original debt, and then we'll have the original debt month, and then we're going to have the monthly payment. And then in this function, we need to, like I did in the Google Sheet, we need to have what the current date is. And there's a way that you can actually test your code. You can use something called logger.log, and then you can get current date, and then we can save it. There's going to be a circle here, meaning you haven't saved it. So you just do save, and then save, and then you can run it. And then there you go, it'll tell you the date. So this log here is for this date. So that means we got the date correctly. It is July 26. Then we can get the current month. And then we can use the logger again to see if we're getting the right number. And it gives you 6. And that's because it's 0 indexed. So we just have to add +1 for it to actually give us the right month. So now it's 7. And then now we want to figure out how many months have passed. How many months have passed since our original debt month? It's just an original debt month minus the current month. And we can't use a logger for this one because this number is unknown. We don't know what the number is until we put it in our spreadsheet. And this one. We don't know it. If we were to run the code, we don't know what it is because it's defined by the user. The debt left is the original debt minus the monthly payment times the number of months that have passed. And then we just return debt left. I'm going to rename this because I don't want it to be the same name as the function. Maybe we just call it debt calculator. Okay, so now we can actually use this in our spreadsheet. So in our spreadsheet, it's going to be the original debt, which is 1,000, the debt month, which is 6, the monthly payment, which is 100. Okay, now it makes the calculation. So why is it that it's 1,100? Let's go back here. Okay, let's go back into our function and let's put in the actual numbers that we used in our spreadsheet. And then we can put in the logger here, .log. Oh, I see, I already see what happened. I already know why. It's -1. Because it should be the current month should be the one here. Because the current month is larger than the debt month. So now it's +1. Okay, there. It's already calculating it for us. Okay, so now we use 5, we get 800. And that's because we made 2 payments, one on June 1st, then one on July 1st. I'm already starting to see some problems with this logic. Say this debt was supposed to go over for more than a year. And then say we are going to be in 2024, then the month of that is going to be 1. Month of today is going to be 1. And then 1 minus 5 is going to be a negative number. So you want to be able to handle if we're going to go into the next year, we have to be able to handle that case. So let's go back to what we had earlier. Okay, so this is what we had originally. So we change this to 5, then this is updating. Alright, so I think a better way to calculate the monthly payments made is there's a function called date diff. And the date difference, it just tells you the start date, which is this one, and then the debt date, which is this one, and then it tells you, and then the unit you specify M for months. So I looked this up earlier and it gives you 2. So say in the future, it's not going to be today. Say in the future it's going to be 2024 and the month is January 1st, and then it becomes, say it's January 1st of 2024. So now it's not going to be 1 minus 5, which is -4. Because originally what we had was 1 minus 5. So it's -4. But this is more accurate. Date diff. So if you want to give my friend his magic formula, we have to do... Okay, so this is the magic formula that my friend wanted. Alright, so I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section and I'll be sure to answer your questions there. If you have any questions about Google Sheets or Google Apps Script, feel free to let me know. And I'm also curious to hear where you're going to start using this in your Google Sheets. Are you starting to see how you can start practicing coding in your Google Sheet? I'd love to hear more about it in the comments. And if you haven't downloaded it yet, I do have that guide called my Personalized Finance App Programming Guide. And it's a really fun guide if you really want to get better at programming, if you want to start practicing coding. This guide is going to be really helpful for you. And I think projects are the best way to start learning how to code. So you can download that in the link in the description. Alright, thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I had to say. And I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in the next one. Peace.